Hey guys, YouTube. This is something I've been wanting to talk about, but first, as you all may notice, no more hair. That's right, I'm starting over. My scalp was screaming it was time. It was way past time to get all that off. But that's not what I'm here to talk to all of you about today. I've been doing a little bit of something these days that I wanted to let y'all in on. I'm going to give you guys one little piece of advice, especially those of you who are using paper money right now and are not aware. Sorry, that's something I'm opening up because there's something I want to show you. Right now, you need to take one of these, and you need one of those, or you need to take one of these. God, that's awful looking what they've done to our money, isn't it? I remember what the original greenback looked like. But you need to take one of those, or you need to take your plastic. And you need to start taking a fraction of that. And you need to start buying this. And you just a good little percentage of it, or depending on how the pucker factor is for you right now when I tell you what's happening. It's not such that I'm going out and spending all my money on these, but I am putting a small portion back in these. That's 1 troy ounce of pure silver. That right there, at this moment in time, and this is why I say you need to buy it now. Silver is so artificially cheapened right now that it's not even cost effective to mine it. They've dumped so much into the marketplace because the big boys are manipulating this. Silver is so artificially cheap. You can get this for anywhere from $13 to $15 an ounce right now. And you need to do it. There's a lot. If you haven't been paying attention to current events, by the way, I don't keep that here. That was just brought out of my stash, which is not stored here. I've got too many people around here that break in and steal that stuff. I keep that in an undisclosed location away from here. But if you're not familiar with what's going on right now in the world, number one, yeah, gas is cheap, but here's the thing. And there's a lot of other things that seem cheap, but if you watched prices recently, the prices of other things, consumables and other items like that, are going up. The dollar's purchasing power is slowly dropping. It's being devalued. There's a couple of things going on. The petrodollar has a competitor now, and very soon it's highly likely that the petrodollar is not going to be the reserve currency that other nations use. There's a lot of things that have gone on that a lot of you may not know. Have you ever heard of an entity that was formed a few years back by a lot of the Eastern European nations, including Russia, called the BRICS Bank? The BRICS Bank is basically their new version of the IMF. Russia, China, and several other nations, including some oil-producing nations, have formed their own version of the IMF, and they don't deal in U.S. dollars. Their reserve currency, and what is set to become the reserve currency probably in the near future, is the Chinese yuan. And I can remember people back in the day, experts, all these financial analysts saying, oh, the yuan will never become, the dollar is safer than ever being reserve currency. Guess what? Wrong. It is now operating as a reserve currency for purchase of oil. There are nations now that have joined the BRICS Bank and others looking to get on there that are going to be using the Chinese yuan as reserve currency. There are other nations that see that because of our fractional reserve lending that we do and the other misguided and corrupt principles that U.S. and Western banks follow, they're seeing what's going on. You can't live on credit forever. Eventually, someone has to call in the debt. And these nations are seeing that this is where it's going. We just put ourselves in debt a little bit more to pay for what we did the year before. And then when that's done, we put ourselves, and it's an exponential graph. And it can't go on forever. You cannot print yourself out of debt on debt you owe. It's a vicious cycle that we got caught in. But that's an old lesson going all the way back to the days of FDR. Anyway, and I'm not going to get into a lesson on it. Here's the thing. The other nations are seeing that our credit, when you go to get a credit card or you go to buy something, they check your credit rating to see where you stand financially. And if you default on stuff and you go longer and longer and longer without paying things off, and you keep borrowing to pay the debts that you owed before, only to have a higher interest rate and a higher amount that you have to pay, eventually people say, no, I'm not going to borrow from you. I'm not going to buy your debt. I'm not lending you any more money. And that's kind of what's about to happen. China is unloading U.S. Treasury notes, or whatever they call them. The debt that China was willing to buy from us year after year, that's coming to an end. China has done two things that are very interesting. Number one, China has begun buying up gold as fast as they can get it. They're even smuggling it in. They're sucking it up like a vacuum, almost as fast as India right now. The other thing China is doing, as they're unloading all of this U.S. debt, is they're buying up this. They're buying this up in millions of ounces. As far as I know, that's what I've been told. And there are certain surges, if you watch the charts on precious metals, and you watch which markets are open and when those surges occur. We just had 2 days ago, I don't know what the heck happened. Silver was trading at $13.80 an ounce. And then suddenly the whole market goes boop, and it goes up to almost $15 an ounce. And then for about 2 or 3 hours, and then boop, drops back down to 13 something. It's almost a square wave pattern, what I saw, the way it did. And I've got those charts here. You can look them up. It was just a couple of days ago that this happened. And what that was, the value shot up. Somebody bought up a bunch of silver. I don't know who it was. Because you don't see that on the chart. You don't see who bought it. But there was a massive buy. But the weird thing is that during that time, after a few hours, it stabilized back. But God, if I'd have had a trading terminal in front of me, I could have probably doubled what I had in this metal. Needless to say, the days of the dollar being a worldwide reserve currency are getting nil. They're getting thin. Time grows short. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm sure that things are not going to go bad like overnight. Well, they might. You could have a Greece scenario happen over here, or you could have a Detroit scenario happen over here. If you've ever followed the history of Detroit and how they are where they are right now, and what happened to cause them, there's a lot of things that explain it, and I'm not going to put you through school on it. Now, I'm not a doomsday prepper, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when currency devalues, silver and gold are good shock absorbers during those hard times. If you buy this while it's $13 an ounce or lower, it may go a little lower, but I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to bottom out at some point, because it's gotten to the point that silver mines are closing right now because it's too expensive to mine it at the current cost. They can't cover the cost of mining it. The 13 an ounce, for sure, probably within the next year, it's going to go up to at least 20 an ounce at some point. So you're going to make back on your investment if you don't buy too high above spot. But what I'm saying is silver is a shock absorber. When the purchase power of your currency drops, that silver becomes worth more paper. So while everybody else is getting the same wages and they're having a hard time even buying a loaf of bread, I could see a loaf of bread going as high as $5. Excuse me. Let me get a cough drop in me. I had one over here. Here it is. Try to get my voice back under control. Ever since I had that head cold about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I have not been able to get my voice back. And this cough, this long lingering cough, has really been an issue. So you'll have to excuse me eating that cough drop, or sucking on it anyway. The whole point I'm trying to make is, while other people are struggling to pay $5 for that loaf of bread, you can take you one of these and it'll probably get you about $50 of paper. Don't go sell off your whole collection. Use what you need. There are websites that buy this stuff at whatever, maybe a little bit below spot, but you're going to get your investment and then some back. There's a place I can sell these. All I got to do is get online. They purchase it, I send it to them. That's where the power of bullion comes in. Bullion is money in the bank, and it doesn't go away. It has a set value. When you see silver is worth this number of dollars, or you see silver is worth this number of dollars, silver's holding its value. What you're seeing valued dollar devalues, it takes that many dollars to buy that ounce of silver. That's the purchase power of the fiat currency that goes up and down. The silver stays where it's at. It's at a set value. And it's the same with gold. Gold has a set value. I don't know how they determine it, but dollars and euros and pounds and all this, they're going up and down against that gold. But that gold has a fixed value. But who can afford gold? You can't afford it now. You sure won't be able to afford it later. Silver is poor man's money. Anybody can buy an ounce of silver. You got $13 or $14 or $15 right now, depending on who you buy it from. Go get you some and put it in a box somewhere and forget you have it. And add to it every once in a while. Add another bar. The dollar will eventually rebound, or whatever new currency comes along. If the dollar dies, so what? There's going to be a new currency come along. It's going to be worth. This is going to be valued against that new currency. When the new currency comes along, you trade in some of this and you restock in new currency. Then you're good to go. So it's not a doomsday thing. What this is, it's to get you through. You got your own little reserve sitting over there. And if the dollar dies, so what? I'll go get whatever new currency they have. How much is an ounce of silver worth in that new currency? How much is 5 ounces? So you're going to have that purchasing power regardless. And that's the point of silver. That's why you invest in silver. Or gold. I'm not against buying gold. And gold goes up and down too. Excuse me. Work that cough drop a little. It goes up and down. Important thing though. I made the mistake of talking to other members of my family about this. And I said, silver is so cheap right now. And the big boys out there, the banksters and whatnot, are really playing with the silver market right now. Banksters that would normally poo-poo silver are buying it and dumping it and buying it right now. They didn't used to ever do that. They traded in certificates, and they had a little bit of silver maybe and gold. Gold is primarily what banksters play with. But for some reason, like J.P. Morgan, just last year, I think it was last year, they bought 11 million ounces of silver. And I know what it was for. They're trying to make up for all that short selling they did. They started trading in paper silver, and they didn't have it to deliver. They didn't. If somebody took physical delivery, they didn't have it, or they only had a fraction of what they needed, a very small fraction. In fact, there's a campaign out there, and I looked into it, and sure enough, I don't know if you still can, but there was a campaign where they wanted everybody in the country to buy 1 ounce of silver, And everybody can. And that would so friggin' crash J.P. Morgan. That was what they wanted to do. I don't know if they've stabilized to the point that it's still possible or not. But it was a golden opportunity to swing a sledgehammer blow. And it didn't really happen. Not many people got on the campaign. But that's a whole other thing. I don't have any ill will toward J.P. Morgan. If you can't handle your affairs, then you shouldn't blame other people for it, for your lack of foresight. So, yeah, and something's going on out there. My security cams are going crazy. Anyway, the smart thing right now, you just remember the story of the ant and the grasshopper. There's always grasshoppers aplenty out there when times are good and peaceful and sunny and warm, and the grasshoppers don't give a damn about anything, saving anything for their future. They live in the moment. They have their fun and they play their fiddles, or in this case, they have their fun and they play with their iPhones and they blow their money. Well, the ant, during the summer, knew that the hard times were coming. And the ants put away. They put away what they needed to get by through the hard times. And then when the winter came, the grasshoppers came a-knocking. There was nothing for the grasshoppers, because the grasshoppers didn't lay by in store. And what happens to grasshoppers when the winter comes? Poof! They're all dead. All dead and gone. They starve to death. Yep. They do their thing, and then they're done. But the ant has put away. The ant has laid by in store. And the ant has what he needs to get through. And then when the summer comes back around, the ant is doing well. He comes out of his little hole in the ground, out of his little place that he's made for himself, surviving on the things he's laid by for himself. And he goes out and he starts harvesting again. That's the difference. And that's essentially the ant and the grasshopper in a nutshell. And that's essentially what it is. Precious metals, why you should. Even jewelry. Even jewelry has a set melt value. Gold jewelry, silver jewelry. You can get value off of that. If you don't want to collect bars are the workhorses of silver. If you don't want to collect bars, collect silver jewelry. 925 silver can be bought and sold. It's not as valuable. It's harder to extract it. But pure silver is a good, cheap investment that'll keep you going. It'll help you. Once you find a place to sell it to, you're set. And I have found a place to sell it to. So I have a way to liquidate those assets and make money out of them. And the whole trick to it is just like playing the stock market or the Forex. Buy it low, sell it high. Buy it low, sell it high. You can move in those steps. If you've got the patience to ride those waves, you're going to make money. And don't get greedy. Don't sell, how should I say? Oh, this is going to keep on going up and up and up. I'll wait until it's right at the top. No, because what if the top doesn't come? What if right then is the top? Don't get greedy. That's also where people screw up day trading and where people screw up in the stock market. Don't get greedy. Do what you got to do. Make your profits gradually, And you don't necessarily have to sell at every high. When the economy tanks, and when national economies tank, the stuff gets more valuable anyway. You don't necessarily have to sell it at the first shift of the market. Just keep buying low. Keep buying low. Just let it go past those highs and then buy low. And then when hard times come, that's when you start hitting those, you start selling on those high to get you a little spending money. You've profited by buying all that low. It's just not realized yet. Your profit is going to come when times get hard and that value of that material goes up and up and up and up and up. Because in suppressed economies, precious metals always rise in value. That's the way you do it. It's not necessarily what people aren't going to spend this in the street. It's what happens is you take this and you find a buyer for it on the open market, and you get what you need to spend on the street. because it's going to have a lot. You're going to get a lot more paper for this when the economy's suppressed. So it'll get you out of a jam, and that's all it really is. That's what it is. It's a cushion. So that's what I wanted to talk to you all about. Let me tell you, with the way things are going in the outer world, quit worrying about what Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog are doing. Quit watching local news. You start watching world news. Watch what's happening out there. Start buying precious metals. You're going to need them. You might not need them next year. Of course, I'm hearing a lot of really crazy stuff from otherwise sound-minded financial analysts and economists. And even if it's a mild recession, it's still good to have some silver because you're going to get that purchasing power back. It's kind of like a big battery you're storing up, and it's better than a bank. You put this somewhere out of sight, out of mind of the people around you, and you've got a little bank there that you can draw from. You're running your own, like I said, you're running your own reserve. And yeah, I may sound crazy, but I'll tell you what, when you guys are out there breaking your backs to buy a $5 and $10 loaf of bread, I've already got it handled. I've invested in it, and my returns will be coming. And yours can too. You go get you some silver while it's cheap, and get you if you got $1,000 to blow, go get you a bar of gold and hold that. Because they're talking about $1,900 per ounce gold. Right now gold and silver are kind of on a downward swing, and this is when you should be buying it. But a lot of this downward swing is not normal. What's happening here is it's manipulation. A lot of people believe it is, and I'm inclined to see it, because when I look at the price of gold doing like this, and all of a sudden it goes in a straight line down, and then a little bit later it spikes back up, or where silver spikes and then goes back down to where it was, that's somebody flooding the market or buying in huge amounts off the market. That's a big player trying to manipulate the price so they can get it cheap. You can profit by this if you're savvy and you follow this. When you see a manipulation occurring that drags the market down, be ready to buy. And when you see them manipulating it to drive the price up, be ready to sell. I mean, if you want to do the shift monkey thing, you can profit. Plus, the economy is not going into a state of suppression as fast as the manipulation or as the moves that are going on in precious metals. So yeah, somebody is playing with the market. I think they're flexing their muscles, or these larger ones that haven't really played with bullion much. They're figuring out how to manipulate the market. They're basically learning what to do. This is the time, you watch those fluctuations and buy low, sell high. But don't get greedy. That's all I got to say. It's a long video on a small subject, but it's a subject that's becoming more and more important in my mind as I see what's going on around the world and what's going on with metals. And I wanted to share that with y'all. If you're smart, I'll tell you what, who out there cannot afford 1 ounce of silver? Go down there and go to like APMEX, APMEX.com. Create an account. Start buying silver. It's easy. And they don't ask questions. You can buy anywhere from 1 bar to God knows how many you want. When you buy it, there's no extra price. What you pay gets you the insured shipment. So get you enough that your acquisition cost isn't so high. You only pay for that insurance one time. So get you enough bullion that the acquisition cost is minimal. Make it worth your while. Or if you just have a little to spend and you're willing to wait a while, just get you one of these. Just get you one, or get you 2. I buy 2 a month. And she looks at me all glassed over when I talk about silver, but one of those 2 ounces goes to my other half. One of those ounces goes to me. Do that. That's an investment in your future. And you can always sell it off and get your money back out. You can always, if nothing happens and you decide to get out, You just wait for the next high and then very quickly sell off your silver. And you get your money and a little bit more back. So it's not really a losing situation there. You know. And then I can tell you from what I'm watching, the price of silver is going to come up. The traditional ratio, gold to silver, is 16 to 1. We are so far out of whack from 16 to 1 right now that it's got to come back. You know. If you're willing to sit on it long enough, you can probably double your money. I'm not going to guarantee it, but from what I'm seeing on the charts, you know, as I watch the history of silver, I do know that there's a rhythm. I can see the pattern. There is a rhythm to it, and if you ride that wave, you can profit. Oh, excuse me. Getting situated. This chair is terrible. So that's just my video. I want to do this before I did any other product reviews because there's so many of you out there that I consider my friends. And this is the only time I'll ever talk to you about it. The only time I'll ever talk to you about it, because some people look at you like you're crazy when they find out you're stacking. It's almost like you've got a bunker in your basement and blah, 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 blah. No, I'm just building a shock absorber. I want to get through the hard times without having to eat bologna with no condiments on the bread, you know, and the cheapest bread you can get at, say, a dollar store. I want to be able to get through without having to fall down that far. Been down there, didn't like it much. If I had to, I could do it again. But why, when you can put back for your future? And even if I don't spend $1 worth of it, it's there when I hit retirement age. I got something I can unload, little at a time. Go down to Mexico, you know, unload a bar of silver on the web, get some money, go down to Mexico, live like a king. Well, you probably can't do that as well as, say, my grandfather did, but you'll do all right. So that's it for this video. Just a quick talk. The site, if you want to start buying and selling silver, the site you want to go to if you're just a beginner and you've never done it, try apmex.com. apmex.com. You don't even have to tell them I sent you. This, you guys just need to know. And I'm letting you know. And some of you will hear it. Some of you will not hear it. But you may find you have a knack for trading silver. You may find something there that agrees with you. But I'll tell you, nothing beats the feeling when you got one of these in your hand. That's real money. That's not paper. That's not some worthless piece of paper that could be worth a fraction of what it is in one day. That's real. And until you hold real value in your hand, you will never know what that feels like. That right there is a tiny little chip of security. Yep. Because I know what it's worth, and I know what it will be worth. And be ready to watch and read some charts. It's good to track the value of your investment, and it is an investment. It's no different than putting money in the bank and trying to draw interest on it. Sometimes the banks win, sometimes the banks lose. Mostly they win. You, when you hold this in your hand, you are the bank. You are the bank. So that's all I can say. And depending on what you have seen in this video, you either think I'm more or less crazy. But I'll tell you what, I know how to trade. And for me, oh, that's the other difference. This is money. This is not currency. This is money. You'll figure that out once you get into it and you get the hang of how things work. So you all have a good one. We got a storm rolling in. I can see the rain blowing in on the security cameras. And you all have a good one. And do invest. Do invest. You don't have to put your whole life savings into that. Just take about maybe 2% of what you make and just dump a little bit of it into silver. You'll be glad you did. If you're the patient type, don't be ready to flip it overnight. Unless you've got a really fast way to trade and you found a buyer who follows the market very closely. APMEX kind of does, but their things, it's what it is worth this day and what it is worth that day and the next. But if you get with somebody who moves on that spot price along that chart, you'll do a lot better. I'm not in it for the quick flip, so APMEX is perfect for me. There's another site called JM Bullion. I don't know much about them. I believe that's an Indian-run site. And you got to watch out there because India is sucking up gold even faster than China. So I don't know what kind of value you're going to get there, or what kind of trading you're going to get there. Haven't used them. Some people say they're great. Don't know about it. I like APMEX. It's no frills. They don't send you investor kits and all this other crap. You have silver, we buy silver. You want silver, we have silver. That's how you deal with APMEX. So y'all have a good one. And stay tuned. I got some more reviews coming. I got some stuff here that I'm going to be testing. Take care.